16. The format of the meeting is as it always is. I'm going to hand over to Ajahn Barry in a moment, and he'll say a bit more about it. But the idea is, well, the important thing is when we get round to questions at the end, probably in about an hour's time, do please ask anything. You see, he comes from he's got a lot of experience as a Zen practitioner, as a Buddhist monk, as an ordinary lay practitioner like everybody else here. So a lot of experience, and do feel free to ask any question you like when it comes to question time. And if you're a bit shy about switching a camera on, or that the technology doesn't work, feel free to send something through in the chat box at any time between now and then. I think that's more than enough from me. Ajahn Barry, we're looking forward to you leading the class this evening.
Thank you, Colin. It's great to see everybody, and there's a few people that I can see that I recognise that have sat with me before, and they will know more or less word for word what I'm going to do, because I find it so important, so important. So what we'll do is we'll do two periods of about 25-minute meditation. I'll do a guided meditation on the first period. Well, I'll give a little bit of a talk first of all. A guided meditation on the first period, and keep fairly quiet on the second period. And then after that, I really welcome any questions, because maybe I'm doing something a little bit differently, or suggesting something a little bit different. Obviously, if you're very well grounded in your own practice, you know precisely what works for you. Please don't make a problem of it if I'm saying something different. I'll just do the introductory chant, paying respects to the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammam sangham namasami. So my encouragement is to be mindful. Now there's nothing particularly unusual in that. But what I've tended to find over the years is people practice what they call mindfulness, but I think it's probably more self-consciousness, as in I am doing this, I'm doing this slowly, I'm walking slowly, I'm drinking my tea with great awareness, cleaning my teeth with awareness, and these are really good practices. But it has to lead on from there, because if we truly look, when we are openly aware, when we are really mindful, notice how the mind is. The mind cannot be doing its thing, running around the world, projecting thoughts, views, and opinions when we are present. Some people say to me, oh, I can't meditate, I can't control my mind. Forget it. You don't need to control your mind. In fact, that is adding petrol to the fire. But if we notice that when you feel right now, feel your seat sitting on whatever you're sitting on, feel your hands touching whatever you're touching, whatever sensation, how is your mind in that very moment? It has to be present. Because the moment we lose that present, we're off thinking about it, thinking about what I should experience or what I've got to do tomorrow. But right now, right here, there is awareness. So it's not actually the me being present that's so important. It's noticing what happens when I am present. Just experience it right now. And this doesn't take special practices. In fact, we meditate formally, especially in the early days. We need to learn to settle down, to stop running around, stop distracting ourselves or running away from ourselves. But we learn to sit, we learn to stay in one place for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, maybe longer. But then we need to truly start to look as to why. Why would I practice meditation, so-called meditation? Why would I practice mindfulness? I don't think they can really be separated. And the more we learn to be in the present moment, the more we learn to notice how the heart mind truly is, the more natural that becomes. The more it becomes our default way. Problems have less sway over us, less power over us, because we're no longer grasping them so much. But we're not trying to get rid of problems. We're not trying to stop grasping. We're not trying to stop getting away from things. We're opening to the true presence of that awareness. Right now, any of the senses, any of the feelings, listening to that natural quiet state that is always there, no matter how noisy the surroundings are. Everything is an opportunity to practice. And what I mean by practice is to be present and aware, noticing how the mind settles down. We need to notice this because we dismiss it generally as it's unimportant. I need to practice harder. I need to gain this. I need to gain the jhanas. I need to special practices. These are all grasping, but they tend to happen if we truly start to live in this open, spacious awareness. It's got nothing to do with us in the sense of I cannot create it, I cannot get it, but I can be it. And it's actually very simple right now. Can anybody tell me if there is anything that can be improved on in this very moment? Can anybody tell me if there is anything lacking in this very moment? I've never ever met anybody who can. If they start projecting thoughts, oh, well, yes, okay, yeah, of course, but that's just another concept, that's just the conditioned mind coming in again, of trying to know better than the way it truly is. So naturally letting go. And I'll just say, oftentimes you'll hear people say, oh, just the practice is letting go, just let go. I don't think it's possible, because that's me trying to let go, which implies I'm trying to get away from Second Noble Truth. I'm trying to become something else. But the mere fact of being in this moment, being in that place of open, spacious awareness, there is a letting go. It can't be any other way. And if there's anything particularly difficult about this practice, is that it's too simple. Because we don't like simplicity. We say we do, but when it comes to just letting go, which I see, to me, this is Buddhism. It's the opening of that grasping hand, that grasping mind. That mind wants to feel secure, wants to rigidify everything, instead of accepting change, not wanting to believe in no self, no permanent self. Because we're frightened, because we're projecting ideas on what that is like, instead of experiencing this no separation, just being, just responding to the way it is, quite naturally, taking part in society, doing what we need to do, but not turning all these molehills into mountains when we have a problem. There'll always be problems. But do we have to build on them? Do we have to add sankharas? Do we have to turn them into mountains? Okay, it's difficult, yeah, okay. It'll change. We know change. We start to really know and accept change. We start to really understand that suffering is a fact. First noble truth. But what we add on top of that suffering, and as I say, my little favourite Indian saying is, pain is compulsory, but suffering from pain is optional. Suffering is compulsory, but suffering from suffering is optional. Just through this simple practice, which, and most importantly, which we take when we leave this class, when we leave this formal meditation, we can still be in that place of open awareness when we remember, in any time of the day. We don't need special situations. We don't need to hide away. And we meditate formally. We learn to build the foundations. We learn perhaps to rediscover that place of open awareness. We start to trust it. We start to bring it into our lives, into our ordinary everyday life, noticing how things start to change, how other people start to react differently to you. And you start to act differently to them. Not through some idea of being a better person, but just being. Nothing more, just being. So, shall we meditate formally for 25 minutes? And I shall give a not too deep deep is not a good word, but anyway, guided meditation, sweeping through the body, But remember, it's not about the places of the body themselves. It's with this movement, we get a chance to continually see that when we are aware of, say, of our head or our neck, in that moment, there is that open, spacious awareness. We start to get to know that place. So don't worry if you cannot, I might say, become aware of the top of the head, say, for instance. Well, perhaps you can't be aware of the top of the head, or I might say, be aware of your earlobes. I've never been able to be aware of my earlobes or my fingernails, but I can be aware of how my mind, how my heart mind stops in open awareness in that moment. And that's the important thing, to see that, to learn to trust it. You don't need to think about this. Just open up to it. Just open. And this isn't about repressing or suppressing any emotions or views and opinions. We just see them. They come. If we don't attach to them, they just go. They might come again, but the less we feed them, the weaker they get. So sitting in a posture that's helpful to your awareness. If you're sitting on a cushion or a chair or in an armchair, that's fine, but be aware of the body. And just to I'll keep on about this, sorry about that. When you are aware of your body, notice how the mind, how the heart mind stops in that moment, in that place of awareness. So being aware of the whole of the body, from the tips of the toes to the top of the head. There's nothing to do here. There's nothing to gain or to become. Just to be aware. Becoming aware of the breathing, just the normal, natural breathing, not interfering in any way, or listening to the sound of silence. Now becoming aware of the head, at the top of the head, the crown of the head. You don't need to project pictures onto it or thoughts. If you can't be aware of the top of the head, it's absolutely fine. But you can notice how the mind is at peace in that awareness. So now let that awareness spread down the back of the head and the sides of the head. Becoming aware of the ears and the earlobes. What happens when you try to become aware of the earlobes? Again, without projecting pictures or thoughts, but just knowing that space of that place of open, spacious awareness. Now becoming aware of the forehead and the eyebrows, the eyelids, and the eyes. When the mind wanders, don't worry about it. That's what the mind does. It's divisive by nature, the thinking mind. So just come back, just re-establish that open, spacious awareness. Being aware of the nose, and the nostrils, and the mouth, the lips, the tongue inside the mouth. And the chin and the jaw the cheeks of the face. Now bringing the whole of your face and the whole of the head into that awareness. Just that quiet, open awareness. Nothing to get, nothing to gain, nothing to become. You're becoming aware of the neck, right around the neck and the throat. You're becoming aware of the shoulders. If there is tension in them, just don't try and do anything about it. Just be aware. With that awareness, there could be a letting go of that tension, but don't interfere. Now becoming aware of the arms, the upper arms from the shoulders down to the elbows. And from the elbows down to the wrists. Just noticing any sensations. No need to think about them. Just seeing them, noticing them. Becoming aware of the hands, the backs of the hands, the palms of the hands. The fingers, the joints of the fingers, the tips of the fingers, and the fingernails. letting that awareness spread down the back, from the shoulders down the back, down the sides of the trunk, down through the shoulder blades, down the spine, the arch of the back, the small of the back. Again, just being aware of any feelings, sensations, without judging or commenting, certainly not repressing any feelings, just opening to the way it is. Spreading down to the coccyx, to the buttocks and the hips. Now bringing the whole of your back, your shoulders, your hands, your arms, your neck, the head and the face into that awareness. Just knowing that place of open awareness, that spacious place, that place of our true nature. It's not conditioned. Now becoming aware of the chest, from the shoulders down the chest, through the rib cage, the lungs, the sides of the trunk, the diaphragm, the belly, the navel. Again, noticing maybe there's some extra energy there. Okay, it's just the way it is. Do not interfere. No need to wonder about it. Just know it. Down through the navel, into the groin and the hips. Now bring that awareness, or bringing the whole of the body, the back, the front, the hands, the arms, the neck, the face and the head into that awareness. Just returning when the mind wanders. Now becoming aware of the legs, from the hips down to the knees, the tops, the backs of the legs, the sides of the legs. And from the knees down to the ankles. Becoming aware of the feet, the tops of the feet, the soles of the feet, the heels, the arches, the balls of the feet, the sides of the feet, the toes, the tips of the toes, and the toenails. Bringing the whole of your body from the tips of the toes to the top of the head into that awareness. And noticing without thinking, without judging or projecting. Noticing that awareness. It's not dumb, it's not stupid, it's not blank, it's not a vacuum. Being aware of the breath, the gentle, natural breathing, not interfering at all, not following the breath, just the normal, natural breathing. Listening from that place of open awareness, not to outside sounds, but our natural sound or lack of sound. Most importantly, noticing how we are present when we are listening, knowing the breath or the body or a part of the body. So I'll ring the bell in a short while, But please do not think in terms of the meditation coming to an end. Everything is an opportunity to be in that present moment, in that open, spacious awareness. So if needs be, stretch your limbs or whatever. But please do it from that place of open awareness. My encouragement is very much for this to be ordinary. So we take it from this class or whatever we do to going to make a cup of tea afterwards, to going to bed, to everything, to going to work, working, while reading, whilst watching the TV, whilst doing all the things we do. We can be coming from that place of non-attachment, that place of open, spacious awareness. Just being. Just allowing the mind, the tram lines in our mind which run down these continual obsessions we have or opinions we have about things. Just being in this place of awareness, it gives them a chance to heal. We stop feeding our views and opinions. And if we stop feeding them, they start to weaken, and then they don't bother us so much. As I say, it's quite simple. It's very simple if we just remember to be present, remember to look, to notice. So really there's no difference. We say we will meditate now for 25 minutes. There is no difference between the meditation and right now. There is just awareness. So we can bring that. We need to be persistent and consistent in our remembering, in our being aware. And perhaps it is easier in the formal meditation, but we need to bring it into our ordinary everyday life. And this is when things truly start to gel, start to truly let go of this separate self. So shall we meditate for another period, maybe 20 minutes? And then please, if there are any questions, please do ask. I'll give just the occasional reminder on this period. So using whatever works for you. Could be the breath, the silence, a particular part of the body. You don't need to stick to one thing. Shift your attention. It's not about avoiding. A skilled meditator has a toolbox of many tools. Use the right tool for the right situation. Could be the body, could be the breath, could be whatever. So just remembering to be aware. The body is the easiest thing. The body or the breath or the sound of silence, because they can't lie. The mind will always try to fool us, to trick us. But when we are with the body, the mind is at peace. Just noticing when the mind wanders. The moment we notice that, we are automatically present again. So sometimes as time goes on while we're doing formal meditation, the mind starts to get a little bit more restless. So just put that little bit of effort in, not not to get or become something or to achieve something, but just to notice when the mind wanders, to come back to part of the body, the whole of the body, the breath, the sound of silence. Presence is presence. Always experimenting in terms of if the mind is wandering, perhaps add a little bit of grip to the hands, a little bit of muscle tone, perhaps open the eyes slightly or close the eyes, but always trying, investigating, not to analyze or come to a conclusion, but see what helps with being in the present moment, with knowing that place of open awareness. So if the body is becoming a little bit uncomfortable, just look at that discomfort. Don't react to it, but respond to it. Look at it before you move. Look at it openly, clearly, and then move. But don't just react, which is the normal way we tend to live our lives. So truly experimenting, truly trying to bring this into our ordinary moment-to-moment life, no matter what we're doing. There really is no reason, even if we're running a marathon, there's no reason we cannot be aware while we're reading a book. Always remembering. It becomes incredibly interesting. We start to really know that place. We start to know that it's very comfortable. It's not full of its views and opinions. It's conditioned by society, by our parents, by our schooling, by the government, by whatever, everything. Seeing things the way they are. It's like this. It is the way it is. So does anybody have any questions or comments or criticisms or whatever? Please go ahead.
Right. Can you hear me, Barry?
I can hear you very well, yeah. Yeah.
Right. And in fact, everybody can, I think, can unmute now. Well, I've got one that's come through in the chat box. I have been upset recently by the deaths of a mouse in my garage and a finch in my garden, both killed by the next door cat. How can I cultivate non-attachment so that such events don't cause me pain? Awareness of the impermanence of things isn't helping.
Yeah, I mean, I'll always come back to the same thing. You can't do non-attachment. You can't cultivate these things, but you can learn to be in the present moment, which means we're not attaching to those things. We're seeing them as life. Things die. Cats are cats. Dogs are dogs. Humans are humans, unfortunately, or humans have a pretty good skill at being inhuman a lot of the time. But by being continually coming back, not feeding those moments, of course it's sad. Of course it's sad when you find a dead animal, or you lose a partner or a relative or a friend. Of course it's sad, but Do we have to create such a giant problem out of it? Do we have to add on top? Do we have to add sankharas on top of the suffering? We don't. If we don't add, if we don't cling, if we don't desire to be calm and collected and not affected by these things, these are all desires to be something else other than the way it is. So just learning to recognize the way it is, that awareness. And then we start to respond in a natural way. Yes, of course it's sad, but do we have to beat ourselves up? Do we have to make a real problem of it? As I say, suffering is suffering, but suffering from suffering is optional. Of course, we suffer, but do we have to add on top of that? Do we have to feed that? Know it for what it is. Know that sadness. That's about all I can say about that, actually. I'm sure if you really persevere with that, with just coming back, with just noticing, I'm sure your response will change, your reaction will change from reaction to a response, to a natural sadness. It reminds me of a Zen story of a funeral. A Zen master, a great Zen master, is at a funeral of a friend, and they're all sitting round, and the Zen master starts to cry of sadness, and somebody says to him, what are you doing? You shouldn't be crying, you're a Zen master. He said, it's because I am a Zen master that I can cry. Sadness is sadness, but we don't have to make a big thing of it. We don't have to suffer from it for ages and ages. Sometimes people carry it through the rest of their lives. Just try this, in a way, alternative way of just opening to the situation, just knowing it for what it is. I hope that helps. Nothing else there, Colin?
Nothing's come through yet. Wongdu, I haven't seen anything else. Is there anything, any other chats? Otherwise, I really would encourage folks to unmute and just chat normally. No, I haven't got any other. Nothing else has come through in the chat box.
Okay. Have you got anything from previous classes, Colin, that have come up? Get a bit of a conversation going?
Had you noticed as you get older, your short-term memory goes?
Oh, really? Who are you, by the way?
Me? Yeah. I can't recall anything at all. Can I just say something? I mean, as a long-time cat lover, I think one thing I can remember is that over the years we've probably had about 11 cats, and I think most of them are buried out the back in the garden. This is a very, gosh, what mice and beautiful birds and all the rest of it. I wish cats didn't do that. I really wish cats didn't do that. In my perfect world, cats wouldn't do that, and finches and mice would be a bit more careful in avoiding cats just in case. But life isn't like that. I mean, actually, to the questioner, what I'm about to say may sound trivial, but I really mean it. Is like, this is the authentic reason for getting into Buddhism, for being a Buddhist, and because frankly, life is like this, and the questioner says, yeah, these events cause us pain. I mean, they do. I mean, that's why I'm a Buddhist. If everything was bright and beautiful, and my cat and the goldfinch cuddled up together, why would I be doing this? I think I did say a few weeks back. I mean, the reason Siddhartha Gautama got into Buddhism was because he came face to face with old age, sickness, and death, and wanted to do something about it. And that, it's that kind of reason that I think most of us, because life is not a bed of roses, it's not, as a color supplement maybe suggests it is. And that's why I've been doing Buddhism, as you have, Barry, for many decades.
Yeah, yeah. And cats are cats. Cats wouldn't be cats if they didn't do what they do.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah, and I think we really need to look at what we do as well. I mean, um, I shouldn't say this really, but I heard something on the news, and they'd say, "Oh, well, there's this sort of 15 million chickens killed a week, for food." Yeah, I don't think the cats are, but it is, it's upsetting, and especially the news is upsetting too.
Mm.
But we don't have to hang on to that suffering. In that place of that open awareness, there is no self there. There's no division. There's no dissonance. We suffer because we are trying to make things permanent. We don't like the idea of change. We might say, "Oh yeah, anicca dukkha anatta, everything is changing. This suffering, there's no self, no permanent self." We like to say these things, but we're constantly striving not to allow them to happen. We don't want to suffer. We want to get rid of suffering. And it's the wrong approach. Once we accept the suffering and stop adding to it, it starts to lessen. Of course, it will never go away because we're sentient human beings. But the degree that we suffer from them certainly changes. We don't want to accept change. When things are good, we don't want it to change. When things are bad, we want it to change. We're not open to this. We're not open to it at all. And we fight this idea of no self. What is this no self? Can anybody find a self if they look right now in this very moment, in that place of awareness? Can you find a self? I can't, and I've never met anybody who can without projecting a thought or an idea. But that doesn't prevent you from doing things. It doesn't mean that you'll disappear. You're poof, you're gone. There's no self. It's the self that we add on top. It's this conditioned self that's created. It's mind created. It's concepts. And we prefer to believe a concept than the facts of the way it is. Because we're conditioned to think that way. We prefer the written word. We prefer the map against the landscape. Have you seen a message, Colin? You're looking very...
Well, I'm just looking. No, nothing else has come through. I'm just... I've lost things completely. Wongdo, are there any other messages in the chat box? Please. I don't think there are.
It's got there is a message here. Leonard Cohen once said he jumps in and out of Buddhism every now and then because his quote, "It's a pretty joyless religion." Your opinion? Okay. Well, I mean, that's the way he sees it. It's not the way I see it. You know, often people say, "Oh, it's all about suffering." No, it's not about suffering. It's about recognizing what we do to make us suffer. It's about non-suffering. But yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Problems? Solutions? Any hands up? I'm just trying to scroll through the screen.
No, I don't think anybody. Oh, look! Meg's got one.
Good.
Yeah, I think it's a comment, and it's just to say what we've just been talking about. I mean, my husband was very ill last year, and a lot of it was also mistakes being made, and I felt I made mistakes too. So there was a lot of how can I live with myself for doing that? How can I see him suffering like this? I can't bear it. And I did sort of get over the whole thing by taking that approach that Barry said, because I said to myself, why do I expect my husband to have a perfect experience if he's unwell? Life isn't like that. And I sort of accepted what was going on. And when I was very sad, I sort of didn't try to stop myself being sad. And I don't know whether that was the right thing to do, but I felt it was what I know about Buddhism was sort of helping me with it.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's that. But actually, it all got so it was too late to operate. But just so nobody feels too sad about what I'm talking about, I will just say they then found a physical treatment that's really getting him better. So
That's good news. Yeah. As you say, it's the accept. You know, we often people will say, accept it. I think the true acceptance is just opening to it. I come to accept it, but if I truly open to the way it is, that's a true acceptance.
well, I was saying to myself, humans aren't perfect. You know how you said, oh, cats will be cats. And I'm saying doctors are going to make mistakes and the country is going to fall apart. And, you know.
Yes. And they're difficult times. They're difficult times. You know, we lose somebody or somebody is ill and that really is, unfortunately, that's life. It's inevitable. Absolutely. But just that opening, that being present, then we're not trying. The Four Noble Truths are wonderful. If you truly look at them, that truly knowing the suffering, truly knowing it, the causes of suffering, the attachment to, the desire to get away from, the cessation. So people say, oh, cessation, oh, that's a big thing, oh, cessation. If we're truly present, there is cessation. Once we truly get to know that, become familiar with that, we can bring it into the fourth truth, bringing it into right thought, right view, right speech, right action, because we're responding to these things, we're understanding them, but I can't do them, if that makes sense to you. They're lived. They're not me trying to be a good person, a wise person, an accepting person. But that's the outcome of learning to live in the present moment, learning to see that place that is prior to our indoctrinated, thinking, confused mind. Thank you for that, Meg.
And there's a comment has just come through in the form of a question, which I think you've answered. And the question says, maybe facing the truth has its own joy. Maybe facing the truth has its own joy. And you seem to be saying, Barry, maybe knowing the truth has its own joy.
Yeah. Words are tricky.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a bit of a stickler for this because you say face. Well, who's going to face it? If I'm trying to face it, it's a problem. But if there is just an opening to it, knowing it clearly, and that's a true facing. That's a true accepting. It's an understanding, and not only is there relief there, there's also wisdom grows from that. Wisdom of how we will live in the future, so to speak. Knowing that mindfulness, true mindfulness, not self-consciousness, truly helps. That's wisdom. So I think it's time, unless anybody has any pressing problems, which I don't think is the case.
Well, thanks a million. Good to see you again. And, and people want to know when you're coming to the class next. And the answer seems to be, in my diary, February the 22nd.
That's right, yeah.
So thank you very much for coming tonight. And thanks everybody else for coming along as well. To the class. Good to see you.
And thank you for handling this, Colin, and the Buddhist Society. And just one thing, don't forget to remember to come back to the present moment and notice. And remember, it's not what you think, because it's not what you think. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Many thanks, Barry. Thanks, Colin.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wongdu, for running the show.
Yeah. Thanks, Wongdu. Thanks, Buddhist Society.